All right, welcome back to J-Face Games. What we're going to talk about real quick is monster design. All right, and so how are we going to do that? What's this monster going to be? Let's go ahead and come over here and click on the monsters. And we had fish guys before. Here's some stat blocks. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what this means. Let's talk about what's going on here, etc. So this was the creature that was in the beta, or in that video that I showed that was sort of just like a mock attack. In essence, these were Murlocs, right? You saw the picture. I was making Murlocs from good old WoW. I just didn't know if I was allowed to say Murlocs, so I said fish guys. All right, so let's start with the stat block up here, and we have the hit number. The hit number is, in essence, how many hits can this thing take, right? We could call this, in essence, this is hit points, but the system is based on how many just straight hits do you take, right? Because I don't want to have to roll for damage, because I'm gonna speed it up, right? You speed it up and you say, okay, you hit, boom, he takes one hit, right? He's only got 3 to give. Then you have the target number. Now what target number is, for those that haven't watched some of the other videos, is that the target number is what you're actually trying to hit. It's like the AC in another game. In essence, replaces AC in other games, right? The armor class. AC armor class. Let me write that in. So this number is if you've got to roll your striker die, and that striker die is a D4, D6, D8, D10. If you can get a 3 or higher on your striker die, then you succeed at getting a hit, which then would subtract from this target's hit number. Simple as that. Well, that sounds boring. I want to be able to do massive damage. I want to feel like a badass. I don't want to just, roll and hit. Well, that's where these other numbers come in, right? You have the bloodied number, which for those that don't know what the bloodied number is, if you can hit the bloodied number, you immediately take off half the creature's damage, or half the creature's health, okay? So in this scenario, the bloodied number is 4. So if I can roll a 4 or higher, which you think, that's not that high. Like, why is the target number 3 and the bloodied number 4? Well, these are supposed to be sort of like, throwaway monsters, small monsters that you're dealing with, right? I would put this in there with like goblins, or I'd put this in there with kobolds. That I want you to, if you're a hero, you should feel like you're just wailing through these things, right? So take this to account. If you are a mage and you've got a D4 dagger, or you've got like a dagger and your ability to hit is a D4, well, there's a 50% chance you're going to hit this creature, and there's a 25% chance you hit it really well, right? So that's in essence what this is. This is a creature that if I'm just a dude with a weapon and I'm not very good at it, I've still got a chance of killing this thing. Or, I don't have a chance of killing it outright, but I've got a chance of really wounding this thing, but it's small, and I've got a chance of at least hitting it, right? So that's what I take into account. But if you're a fighter, if you've got a D8, 50% of the time you're going to be able to like really wound this thing because you're awesome, right? You're awesome. But you're even more awesome than most people, because then you have another number, which is the death number, right? All these names can change, by the way, but the death number. If you can get a 5 or higher, instant kill, right? So now if you've got a D8, there's a good chance you could kill something outright, right? It's gone. But if you have a D4, there's no chance. You would have to have some sort of assistance. Maybe someone aids you and you get a +1, right? Maybe someone gives you a power. Maybe you apply more effort and you get more pluses. So now you take that D4, you roll a 4, you had +2 effort, yeah, you got a 6, you kill it, right? So there's a chance. Whereas you are a seasoned fighter, say that you've actually gotten to the point where you have a D10, oh my gosh, 50% of the time you're just wailing through these things. And if you're applying just a little bit of effort, it's just kill, 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 and you feel awesome. That's my hope, is you feel awesome. Now, what's fun about these numbers is that, I mentioned this in another video, is that because of the way these numbers work, you can have different spans for these, right? You could have a giant Tarrasque or some sort of kaiju, and his target number is 2 because it's very easy to hit. He's the size of a skyscraper, you know? But his death number is 30, and his hit number is, I don't know, 100. You know, I've got to get 100 little hits on this thing, and I'm not going to be able to outright kill him or something. But maybe you've got, like, I don't know, a ballista. Maybe you've got all kinds of powers, because if you're fighting a kaiju, guess what? There's probably going to be powers for you to help deal with that. Anyways, so that's the idea of this creature's stat blocks. Now, the other stat blocks that come into effect is how does it like actually attack? So, in essence, what this is going to be is you're going to have your normal attack, right? A normal slash. And this is, in essence, the attack value for that attack. And it's a 4. So what does this mean? Well, this means that if you are... Because remember, the players are the only ones rolling. The DM doesn't roll. So the players now have to roll a defensive die, and they've got to get a 4 or higher on that defensive die in order to deal with this. Okay? That might be easy for the person who's been more of the tank, who's got like a D8 defense die, because now it's 50% chance they're blocking it. So maybe this is a 3 because it's even easier than that, right? But we're just saying 4 for now because we're going to see how it goes. And so they've got the defensive die and they're blocking it. If they don't succeed at blocking, guess what? They take 1 stress, right? And we've seen in the system in terms of hit points that if you take a stress and you eventually run out of stresses, now you're going to take a minor damage. But technically, because this only does 1 stress, this person, as long as you have a major wound to give, you would never be killed by them outright. However, they do have other stuff. So the first, they have this other ability called Swarm Tactics, right? Swarm Tactics, what that is they get a +1 to their AV value for each other fish guy engaged is the key word, with the PC, right? So if there are 3 fish guys all adjacent to you, they have to be engaged, not on the same space, but engaged with you. Now when that fish guy attacks, because there's 2 other ones attached to you, this is now a 6. That could suck, right? So these things just swarm over you, right? So that could be a really, really big problem, right? And we'll have to play with this. This might be way too powerful. But what I like about this is this swarm tactics. Eventually you're going to have tactics that are in a universal sort of book of monsters. So you'd be able to look at monsters and you'd say, okay, what are some monster tactics? And so you'd be able to create a monster very quickly on the fly and say, I just have to come up with these, and these are going to be based on, in essence, the DCs of the level for the monster. And there's a whole other video I did on DCs, sort of the math behind what do people have to roll and how easy is it to roll. And then there would just be a list of tactics, and you could say, you know what, these are kind of a swarming creature. They get swarm tactics. You know, they get this, they get that. They get some special movement, etc. So that's swarm tactics. Now it could be that the other thing you could do, instead of doing this +1 AV, it could be that if you're outnumbered, so if we think about engagement is you have a target touching another target, like their discs on a location, 2 targets are touching, right? That's engaged. If they're both in the same location, that's called nearby, but engaged is when they're touching. Let's say you have like 4 characters that are all touching together, right? They're all next to each other and they're all technically touching together. They're all engaged with each other, right? That happens, right? You could be that's like the real melee fight where everyone's kind of engaged. If you're nearby, you can still attack someone, but they're not like harrying you. So it could be that we talked about last video, the idea of there's only really 2 conditions, being hindered or being eased, that if you're ever in an engagement and there's more bad guys than there are PCs, then all PCs are hindered, right? It doesn't mean that all the bad guys are eased, but it means all PCs are hindered, right? And vice versa. If there are more PCs engaged with a monster, it could be that monster's hindered, right? Or for that scenario, it just might mean that the players are eased. Because it could just be that you're messing with the players' variables because they're the one rolling the dice anyways, right? So it's just that it's a quick check. Are there more monsters than me that I'm engaged with? Crap, I'm hindered. Is there more of us than there are monsters that we're engaged with currently? Awesome, I'm eased, right? So it might be simple as that. And then this gets, if someone has swarm tactics, then you're just kind of screwed because now it could be compiling that factor of if you're engaged, you're either hindered or you're eased. So food for thought. Then you have this thing called water vomit, right? Maybe this is, I said, this is a attack value 8, which is pretty big. It's pretty big, right? That might be way too high, but we'll see what happens. Pretty big. It does a minor wound, so now they've got an ability that actually could do a minor wound, right? It could do a minor wound, which means that if you don't have any minor wounds, you could actually take a major wound now. But there is a condition here. It means that you have to have 3 of these fish guys actually engaged with the target. So the players might not know this at first. Hopefully that's the beauty of this system, is that because you can my hope is that it's a foreign system to someone. So it's like, unlike other games where I'm going to fight a troll, guess what? I've got to have some fire, right? I know that trolls fire. Because you just know what creatures are in those systems. I'm fighting a basilisk. I don't want to get turned to stone, right? I'm going to make sure to not look them in the eyes. Whereas this game, I don't want you to know what the hell is going to happen. There's that surprise element of, I don't know what these monsters do. Or even if I find a troll, I don't know what mechanically that means to fight a troll in the system. Well, in this one, you're fighting along. Oh, I've got 3 of these little guys on me. Who cares? I'm blocking everything, because maybe this value is 3. I'm blocking everything. This isn't a problem. No, more the merrier. That 3rd one gets there, and all of a sudden they all just vomit hot water on you simultaneously, and you've got nowhere to go, and you take a minor wound. Like, that to me is like, oh crap, we've got to spread these guys out. We've got to, push these away. I can take on 2 at a time, but don't let a 3rd one get on me, and now you've got this tactic, right? So this hopefully gives you an idea of what it might look like to create monsters in this game. We definitely want to have a library of sorts of tactics. So tactics becomes an important word, sort of that's a keyword. And we got to have lots of different tactics, and you can just tag a bunch of tactics onto a monster you're creating that. They're going to have some sort of normal action, and then they're going to have special little actions. And I want to also create, eventually, in essence, timed actions, right? And this is kind of an homage to Matt Colville's idea of action-oriented monsters, where he would have, like, round 3 the monster does something, and round 5 the monster does something. And it feels like there is agency to the encounter, or it feels like there is all of a sudden a shift in how the encounter goes. So it's like, round 3, all Murlocs, fish guys. All fish guys split into. What? Now we've just doubled how many we have? That would be interesting, right? So it's like asexual reproduction. They just sweat. I don't know. We're just spitballing. Round 5, they all explode because I don't know. Maybe for 1 minor stress or 1 minor wound for each in your area. That's crazy. Because I think of these as like, these fish guys might be the ones that are the fodder. Like, so you've got the big bad and you've got these fish guys. But if you're only just going after the big target, maybe that's a problem. I don't want to create a TPK here, or TPK here, so maybe this is 1 stress, right? Because then it's still an issue. When it happens, you're like, oh crap, that was crazy. Because odds are the players aren't going to know this is a possibility the first time they fight these creatures. But when it happens, maybe round 4, you see the fish guy's skin expanding and bubbling. Some sort of cue where it's like, oh, what's happening here? And then 5, they all explode. So I don't know. This is an idea. Let's see what you think. Go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also leave a comment and hit the bell as well. There's so many things. YouTube's becoming a job, good Lord. Just click it all. Let me know what you think. I'm really excited to hear from you guys. All right, see you next time.